All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live session. I'm Kevin Blanco, Senior Developer Relations Advocate and passionate filmmaker. Now, let me ask you this to get started. Can you think about three videos you saw yesterday or even this morning? Of course, you can, because it's 2024 and video is everywhere. Video made up 84% of all internet traffic in 2023. And in fact, YouTube is the second largest search engine. I mean, we have been all there trying to search for something, and we don't even go to Google, we go to YouTube, or even we go to TikTok or Instagram. Video is becoming simpler to create and also to distribute. The rise of social media platforms has enabled anyone to both create and consume video content with just a few clicks. But this is also affecting us because it's shortening our attention span. Now, on this topic, I would like to talk in terms of how visually overwhelming the world where attention is a commodity and video is a perfect medium to quickly effective communication creation. Now, in fact, according to recent studies, 83% of developers prefer video content over text content. And there is a reason behind this. Video content is processed by the human brain, hear me well, 60,000 times faster than text. Now, this is a science fact. I'm not making this up, right? But let's face it, not every video you come across is good, right? Some are boring, some don't provide any value. So today we'll be exploring the power of video content in reaching, engaging, and supporting developer communities effectively. We are completely live about it. So we'll delve into the unique challenges faced by developer relations teams and how video can address them, from simplifying complex technical concepts to building lasting connections with developers worldwide. So it's my pleasure to host Jake Ward. Jake is the CEO and co founder of Data Protocol, which is a company that produces and hosts video content to provide developers with resources necessary to build products efficiently. Hey, Jake, how's it going?
Hey, Kevin, how are you? It's good to be here.
Yeah, thank you for taking your time and being here for a nice conversation.
It's my pleasure.
So let's get started with who is Jake? Who is Jake and what is Data Protocol?
Well, those two things are inextricably linked, I think, at this point. Data Protocol is a platform that we have built to help software developers and the people that design and build software get the answers and the information they need about the products that they want to use. It's also a way for companies, particularly platforms, sort of data-driven, developer-first companies, to better communicate with their absolutely most important audience, the developers that use their products every day. Who is Jake? Jake is founder, CEO of Data Protocol, certainly somebody who's tried to listen to developers for the past 15 years and to give them what they need the way they want, and to lead with empathy in the way that we design products and the way that we build services. Um, my founder story is not unlike many others, particularly in this space. But I saw a problem, I thought I could fix it. I have a fairly interesting, unique perspective on this, and so far so good. You know, we're having a lot of fun. We're doing the best we can, and I think we're making a difference.
That's great. And actually, before getting to stage, Jake was telling me that he is right now on the Meta offices right now, and they're recording some videos and some content for Meta. So that's pretty exciting. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure, we're on location. We're not actually at the Meta offices. We
Right.
we use a studio in Sunnyvale that gives us full run of the space for a couple of days at a time, so we can bring in a dozen or so subject matter experts. In this instance, from the Meta Quest team, who will work with our production team to record videos. In this case, relatively short, 3 to 6 minute long videos that will comprise a curriculum that better prepares developers to work their way through the privacy requirements of engaging with Meta as sort of a top tier provider of data. In this case, the SDK and the API piece for the glasses. Right, we're talking
Nice.
about thousands of developers building on a relatively new platform and a new technology in an emerging space, who want to play with different features, find their audience, build better experiences for their users with the partnership of one of the largest, most innovative companies in the world. And we are incredibly proud that we've been able to help their developer relations and their integrity and trust team better prepare those developers to meet both the regulatory burden, but also the expectations of their audience.
Right. That's true. Well, that's amazing. Huge success, and also best of lucks in those productions. I know producing can be quite challenging sometimes.
It's the
Um,
fun part. It's the
it's
fun
a fun
part.
part.
The hard part for us is hard. The labor intensive part is writing all of the words, right? It's doing the
Right.
discovery, it's working with the subject matter experts. And then part of our business model is that we want to be as turnkey as possible for
Hmm.
platforms. You tell us what your problem is, we'll draft the script, we'll shoot the video, we'll do the production, the post-production animation, and then that video either goes on the data protocol platform or on your site, your channels, your dev docs, depending on what our audience is. When we're on set, when we have shoot days, that's the good time. That's a lot
Yeah,
of fun.
that's the fun part for sure. So, in general terms, why do you think that video has become so popular among developers, and what are the key advantages it offers over traditional text-based resource? And I don't want to this type of sessions to sound like I'm against text content, because that's something that I've been feeling in some of the DevRel chats that I'm at, and I'm trying to spread the word about video. It's not that I am pushing back on text, which is great, and the fact that you can go back and actually change something on a piece of content versus video, which if you have the URL, for example, of a YouTube video resource, you cannot change the video on that specific URL. So it's kind of hard to change. I know there has their pros and cons. So in general terms, I don't want to feel this is against the text content, but just to talk about the benefits or video. So what would you say are some key advantages you have found on data protocol working with your customers using video?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of important variables here. One is that uh, the prevalence of video, particularly for developers under the age of 35, is significant, right? Most coders in that generation learned to code through video rather than traditional trial and error of the first, second, third, and fourth generations of software developers. They're incredibly familiar with this mode of communication. So I think that's
Right.
part of it, right? Like having a video block while working on in a command line is very common for younger developers. So I think that that's an important cohort to keep an eye on. The
Mhm.
second piece you mentioned in the intro is that that's just the way our brains work, right? That's the way that most people's brains work. Actually, I shouldn't say everybody's, because
Yeah.
there's still 17% of developers that prefer to get product support, product information, all of the context in a written form. My head of development, my lead dev, doesn't watch our videos, right? He's one of these people who wants to read the dev docs, and we have to allow for that as well. On data protocol, we certainly lead with video because it enables us to pause the video, ask a question, gather the data. In the last 18 months, we've gathered more than 18,000 points of data from developers answering questions in video from us. You
Mhm.
can't do that in a dev doc. Where are you going to get that information from? You
Right.
know,
Exactly.
and the way that we can consume information and then apply it to a problem is generally more effective in this type of setting, in the same way that it would work better in a classroom than sitting alone
Mhm.
reading a book in a library. So that's two things. There is certainly something to the flexibility of changing text, though I would also say that that opens up a new problem, which is you'd have to know it was changed in order to
Mhm.
go find it and see it. Part of what we do is a notification so that when anything is changed in our interactive dev docs, which we build for a couple of clients, we send a notification up and say that changed, this is where to go. Other people are doing that, read to me, read me. I think Common Room does some of that stuff, but it's important, right? Being able to track that is important. The other piece, though, we're seeing this more and more, is that with AI, we can go back and change a video really quickly. I'd
Right.
rather not put people on screen and do that, because they get all dead-eyed. So far, we have not mastered that technology, but we can certainly lay audio over the top of a graphic without too much
Mhm.
trouble, which means that if you change the name of a program or you shift a date or you have a new feature set coming out and we need to make a real quick change, or you just don't want to go back in the studio for a couple of months, we can fix that pretty quickly.
Exactly.
So the limitations of video are falling away. The value of it in terms of giving this very mercurial audience exactly what they need, exactly how they want it, and being able to pull down data about about its efficacy, about how well it's received, and what the retention is long term is really helpful. So for me, that's why data is the way. Why video is the way to go. It opens up new data. It meets developers where they are, and it isn't nearly as limited as it was even 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And I can relate to what you were saying that a lot of the young developers grown with video. Like I'm relatively old and relatively young. I'm at that point where I still feel young, but I'm getting there. Like I'm 30, 32 years old,
You're a
and
child.
yeah. But I grow with video content. Like that's
Right.
part of my developer journey over the past what 15, 12 years has been
Yeah.
mostly
Yeah.
with video
Me too.
content.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I wanted to bring it up is the fun thing, which is you have a bunch of people creating video content, well produced and stuff like that, and also you have YouTube videos where are very badly produced. Like for example, I grow with Indian developers
Hmm.
creating amazing video content which helped me on my journey, but they were pretty bad produced. I
Yeah.
couldn't barely understand them, but they had value because it helped me. So how did you balance, or would you say you balance video, spending a lot of time on production, scripting, making sure the content is valuable, versus just putting it out there, because content is king. And sometimes I've seen people who are growing because of the amount of content and not about because of the quality of content. Now that doesn't mean they're not doing good quality content, but sometimes I find myself spending 3 to 4 weeks on a video and the result is great, and then I don't know, I spent just 2 hours on a very small video I did on my phone. I upload it as a story and then it booms and it helps people. So how would you say is like the balance between quality and being there, like trying to be on the market and being where the people are at?
Yeah. The balance between good and good enough. That's
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
fight. Yeah, it's a really interesting question, Kevin. We have less of that battle because what we are doing is producing content for brands. We
Right.
have to deliver on their brand promise, right? We can't do guerrilla iPhone shots in the backs of moving cars. That's a bad experience that would reflect poorly on Google or Zoom or Intel. And so that's not even an option. But just as importantly, we're also not under the gun to produce more content for the sake of more clicks. That's just not how the business model works. We deliver content that meets a need and should last. It doesn't have to be evergreen, but it certainly should carry value with it for a while. And that means that it matters to do it well. Now, I agree with you 100% that there is value in more, and there are thoughtful, creative, incredibly talented, particularly developers who are putting stuff up on YouTube that are useful, and people should
Mhm.
use that. Or they're putting it on YouTube and they're putting it out through Discord and they're helping people solve problems. It wasn't that long ago that whenever a developer would encounter a problem, they would turn to the person next to them and say, "Hey, Kevin, have you ever seen this before?" And then that's how they'd work. And if they hadn't, they'd go to Stack and they'd pull it down. And if that didn't work, they'd go to Reddit. But right now we go, "Oh, I have a code challenge. Copilot ChatGPT solved this for me." And it's that
Mhm.
quick, right? Where developers are running into challenges is broader architecture. It's not how do I fix this one thing? It's broader architecture, and how do I navigate things that are not inherent in knowing how to build things?
Mhm.
How do I work my way through a compliance funnel? How do I solve for business problem? How do I deal with an international patchwork of requirements for hiring people or data flow or registrations of various things? They don't teach you that at Code Academy, right? But
Right.
those are things you need to know in order to launch product and build businesses. I teach those things on behalf of partners, you know, when Plaid needs to update its policies because they are a highly regulated industry. They shouldn't send a memo, right? They
Mhm.
shouldn't just do it in a dev doc. They should do it this way in video in an intimate setting in which they can deliver information that feels like somebody who cares about you is telling you things. And then they should
Right.
ask you questions, right? And that is the fourth leg of the video table. This is the only way to do that. Short of being able to FaceTime somebody and say, so you're having trouble with your data use policy? Let me talk you through it.
Mhm.
Short of that, this is as good as it gets. And that's why it's better. Now, in that instance, and I ask all of our potential partners this, is it important to you that your video content be good, or is good enough?
Mhm.
Right? If you don't care that it's great, you don't want us, right? You can
Right.
find somebody else that built it.
Right.
I want our videos to be so good that developers look at them and go, yeah, somebody cares.
Right.
Somebody gives a shit about what I think, and so they built this for me. Everything from the developer experience on platform, with the command line to ask questions, the notes functions, all of the pieces that we built in there, those are thoughtful components that came from thousands of engagements and thousands of hours of asking developers what they needed. We
Mhm.
built it and put it out there. And not to brag, but I just got these numbers the other day, and I want to tell everybody that I meet. The average video, actually, you'll know this, Kevin, the average enterprise video, free enterprise product video,
Mhm.
has a completion rate of between 3 and 6%.
Completely
So
true.
people start a video, they go through, oh, this could be interesting. The completion is nothing. Nobody finishes it. Now,
Right.
that is the instance where nobody's telling you need to, you don't get any reward if you have. Probably nobody can even tell that you have, but that completion rate is nothing.
Right.
Our enterprise product level videos are completed at 73%.
That's amazing.
I think that is a reflection of both the developer experience on platform, which we are incredibly proud of, and the fact
Mhm.
that the videos don't hurt your eyes to look at. Right? You're not getting any reward for taking these. It's the same. It's an apples to apples level playing field. But when they log in and they look at this, they go, "They built that for me. I'm going to stick around," and it doesn't hurt to watch.
That's amazing, and it's very refreshing. And last week I was with Aaron Francis, who's also like a
Mm-hmm.
content creator. And the reason why I asked the same to him, and I ask it to you because I know what your answer is going to be, it's because we live in a world where a lot of people are just telling you content creation is the key. You'll go viral. You'll live out of it. Yes, you will educate developers. They will follow you, but that's just the viral part. The viral path, sorry, and not what you're trying to achieve with developer relations, which is actually engage and generate awareness. And if at the end the audience that you're trying to speak is a small audience, that's fine. You're not going to get a lot of views. If you're going to spend a lot of time preparing for a video and actually creating something meaningful with good light, with good audio, with good editing, pro, post production, and also delivering the content, that's fine. It's
Yeah.
better to maybe invest a lot of time in creating a piece of content that you know is going to help the people that you want to help, instead of going viral with just some clickbait title and a bunch of animations and transitions here and there. And that's something that I wanted to bring it up because you're on the other end. Like, you're in the end of more enterprise. You work on your own company. Like, you're working with big companies creating content for developers, but you can bring all of that thing for the day-to-day content creators who are watching the live stream right now.
Yeah, we certainly have a plan of creating a data protocol channel on the platform where we're putting out our own content, right? Where it's
Mhm.
us on camera, not just paying partners. We have oh, tomorrow we'll cross the 14,000 monthly user threshold for the first time, which feels
Wow.
pretty good. We've been in the market for about 20 months, 22 months, depending on how you count launch. We're growing pretty fast. We're doubling that size. I don't know what that means, except that it's working and that people
It's
keep coming
working.
back, which is great. The number that I look at is returning users, like people that
Mhm.
found us, liked it, and then came back months later. I want those metrics because that means they liked what they saw. Even when we have the ability to put out our own content that we're not getting paid for and that the subject matter is being dictated by the audience or by sort of the brain trust, the data protocol,
Mhm.
I won't lower the standard. of the quality of the content. The video has to, we joke, it's the best thing on the internet. Like that's a joke that we say all the time. Only half kidding. It has to be great. It has to look great. It has to convey a level of articulation. So to your point, like if you can't understand it or there's any gray area, what are you
Hmm.
doing? There's too many other options that you can dig into. And so my head of content and her team, they're instructional designers. They're
Hmm.
professional teachers in this space. They're not DevRel, right? They're not event organizers. They're people that get complex issues quickly and distill them down and then make you smarter. And
Right.
that's, to me, that's everything.
That's amazing. It's very refreshing to hear that. Now you mentioned something over the last couple of phrases, which is metrics, and that's a hot topic on DevRel. Everybody's talking about metrics, and it is important. Like if you're trying to achieve something, you have to make sure that you're actually achieving the goals that you're set up. So some people claim that it's kind of hard to measure video versus maybe text content. But what would you say on that specific matter? Like in terms of measuring the impact and the success of a video content, how do you do that in terms of internally a data protocol and with your customers?
Yeah, so we have an advantage over just about everybody else because we're a login platform,
Right.
right? So all of our metrics are attributable. We can tell Meta or VMware, this is who logged in, or this is how many people logged in, this is the course that they took, and then this is the thing that they said. We can we can and do provide badges for people that complete 5 or 6 courses right under a rubric, and we say you are now qualified to enter into this space. It's
Mhm.
part of the function of the thing. Now, in in aggregate, what we're able to say is, because we can ask questions during the videos, these sentiment questions enable us to gather thousands of points of data from thousands of different developers. And then that insight goes back to the partner and says, here's where your problem is, or here's
Mhm.
where your opportunity is. This is where your breakage is. And if done effectively, and we're sort of just scratching the surface of this now, because like I said, we haven't been in market that long, we're going to be able to say, if a developer took this video, they are X times more likely to use your product. This time's more likely to not break your product. This time's more likely to not throw a help flag, etc. And then we can say, as we've been able to with one of our larger partners, we reduce breakage of your product by 62%.
Wow.
That means people who took it's 3 videos, people that took these 3 videos are 62% less likely to have a problem with the API pull, with the policy
Mm.
flag, or anything that requires additional support from your team. That's real dollars and cents value.
Exactly.
I didn't set out to save the developer relations world, but as we all know, in the last 3 years, DevRel has been getting kicked in the teeth from reductions in force and layoffs, and it's because we haven't been able to say, I provide this much value to the company in dollars and cents.
Hmm.
We say, I touch this many developers because I go to these conferences, or my network is this big, or I have this kind of Discord um, following, but we haven't been able to date translate that into value. Common room orbits, there are some options, like there are other platforms that are creating an opportunity for that. One of the things that, again, we didn't set out to do this, but now we're able to, this is what we reduced breakage by.
Hmm.
And if you plug this in, now you know what your lifetime value actually is. We'll be live soon with a new partner hosting content on their site, not just on ours, in which we're part of the onboarding process. So developer comes to the site. One of the first things they're going to see is a video that we created that headlines the dev docs and helps them decide whether or not this is the right tool for them. Right?
Hmm.
Every developer makes a choice. Does this do what I need it to do? Is it the right price? Do I get the support that I need? And will this scale with me? Those are the 4 criteria everybody looks at.
Right.
But every SaaS company uses the same formula of throw a bunch of dev docs, show them a use case, give them the pricing guide, and then wait.
Right.
They don't know how many people are bouncing. They don't know how many developers are leaving or why. Therefore, they can't actually know what the marketing spend does to the lifetime value of a product. But
Mhm.
if you put a data protocol video at the top of that funnel, anywhere in there, you now have attributable metrics and you can ask the question, why are you here? Is this something that you want to use? Why? Are you going to leave? Why? And if you can get any of that data prior to registration, you can increase registration, which
Right.
drives traffic and reduces breakage.
That's amazing. And you touched some of the points that I'm struggling with at AppSmith internally, which is like, getting content out there for enterprise use cases, and getting people to watch trial and being able to understand like what they do afterwards. They see the video, where is the
Yeah.
developer journey they're at, what's the next step, what are the pain points they have, and that specific journey they're at. It's definitely one of the things that are very valuable for those out there who are trying to create video content for developers. Like, it's not just creating a content to solve a very specific problem with the video you're creating. Like, it's understanding the bigger broad vision of the developer journey, and
Yeah.
understanding where they're at and how you can help them to reach to the next step. So that's
You're
great.
not you're not alone, Kevin. I had drinks last night with the head of developer relations for one of the best developer programs in the world, objectively, for years and years on end. And he said, we have the same problem everybody else does. When people come in, we assume they know what they're doing and we drop them on the experience and we just walk away. And they've been doing it for 10 years. And it didn't matter when the market was wide open. They had an up and to the right growth. But now that they've reached saturation, they can't measure sentiment. They
Mm.
have no way to gather, what should we build next? What other features are there? Where should we start this process? And you can't you can't reasonably ask a marketing lead or a product lead to give you more resources or more runway if you can't defend that position with metrics around the value
Mm.
to the company. And that's
Exactly.
what the future of DevRel isn't going to be retooling. It's going to be the inclusion of value metrics so that we can defend ourselves, and then so we can look around corners and say, it isn't conferences, it's content. It isn't technical documentation, it's support. It's not promotion, it's communication. That's that's that ethos that was so prevalent for so long in the core of every DevRel hackathon got got stripped out and put through some sort of filter over the last 7 or 8 years, and we got to get back to that.
Right. Awesome. So I know there's been a lot of advances or emerging technologies, like you mentioned AI at the beginning, but how do you see the landscape of technology trends in what you think will significantly impact the way video content is produced or consumed or distributed within developer communities? Like, for example, I've been using a great tool, which is just taking a YouTube video, an existing YouTube video, and it analyzes it with AI. It generates a bunch of vertical
Mm-hmm.
videos for repurposing for social media, and it adds the captions, and it has like multi-view in case like it is some sort of interview like the one we're having, and putting one face down and the other up. So in general terms, there are a bunch of tools out there who are helping, like, developers, advocates to repurpose their content or even generate content, like we are seeing OpenAI and Google generating a bunch of amazing video tooling in the future. So how do you see the landscape of technology impacting video content positively or negatively?
Well, I think it's going to do both, right? So uh, the tools you're talking about that can grab snippets and do summary pieces and make that content much more attractive to developers. It's incredible for content creators. It's not necessarily great for developers because it lowers the barrier to entry for
Mhm.
people that didn't earn it, right? You're great at this. People follow your stuff because it's useful and because it's value additive and because AppSmith is worth talking about. But if somebody could produce a snippet that looks the same without nearly as much energy, effort, or expertise that went into it, now you're putting it on the user to make that choice, right?
Mhm.
It's like having 1,000 shows to choose from and they all look exactly the same and you can't tell who's good and who's bad. Being
Right.
able to find the signal through the noise there is going to be hard. We'll do it, we'll get there, because one of the other things that will happen is like, okay, now we need a rating system. You choose which TV show by their past success, who directed it, who stars in it, what channels it's on, and those additional filters will become part and parcel of the content creation piece. I don't think it's a coincidence that the numbers on Reddit and Stack Overflow
Mhm.
plummeted when Copilot went out, because I don't believe the developers, though mercurial and thick skinned, want to get yelled at for asking a simple question.
Mhm.
I think that if the option is, can I get the answer that I need without being publicly shamed for asking, I'm going to do that. And Copilot opened that door. Yes, it's going to write code. There's no question about it, right? Gemini is already writing code and then commenting code and then asking itself what the comments mean and creating this virtuous loop that removes both the DevRel experts and the SMEs from the process entirely. We're getting there at light speed, whether we're ready or not. The question is how to automate the hard parts so that the creative parts, the deeply human parts, are in the world. Yes, you can ask AI to chop up a video and give you a summary so that those notes are available and they can be out in the world.
Mhm.
It takes a person to build something compelling enough to get somebody to sit down and watch all 5 minutes of it, or all
Right.
12 minutes of it, or 20 minutes of it. A computer can't do that, right? An artist can put empathy and light and shade and brilliance on canvas. A copy machine can capture all of those things, and it is not the same. And
Right.
we know that. We've known it for centuries. That's not going to change now. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity in terms of scale. I think there's a real risk in terms of noise. I think there's a lot of opportunity in terms of automation. I think there's an absolute requirement that we maintain empathy and humanity in the work that we do, and that we're not chasing clicks, that we're not trying to go viral with every video. We're trying to make a difference with the things that we say. We're trying to help people solve problems. And there has to be days where you wake up and you say, I don't have anything to say. And then just don't say anything that day.
That's great. That's true. That's true. And very refreshing again. So, all right, a very small commercial before we kick up. It's 32 minutes in already, and I want to be mindful for Jake's time. So, if you have any questions, put them on the chat. While that happens, I'd like to remind everyone that we have a DaVinci Studio Resolve license that we're raffling all everyone who is joining this conversation. So thank you, Black Magic Design, for this DaVinci Resolve Studio. And if you want to participate, I'm going to put here on the screen right now a QR code, which you can just scan, put your name, your email, and you'll be participating. And there are more ways to get more entries, but just putting your name and your email will get you there. I'm going to keep the QR code over there in the screen uh, until we get to the end. But Jake, I do have one question. Now, I know you're producing a lot of content for enterprises, and maybe the DevRel person who's watching this might not have the whole, studio staff and all the team that you have in terms of having somebody who generates the content and having producers and having post-production team who do the color grading and do the editing. But I do want to ask you, what would you say is a common mistake or a pitfall to avoid when creating a video for developers? Instead of just talking how to or the best
Mhm.
thing, talk about things you would avoid to everyone out there who's trying to reach their developers with video content.
That's super easy. It's not having a plan or a script,
Mhm.
right? It's that your videos go long. They go very long because they don't have the parameters in place that you need to sort of stay on a lean side in terms of content creation. The You and I actually had this conversation about the Wistia research that went out recently. The numbers on
Mhm.
when you get breakage in videos, like anything under 2 minutes, you get a 57% completion. Anything north of 5 minutes, it goes under 10%. We should learn from that. That's not less true because developers are voracious consumers of things. We need to be mindful of people's time. One of my favorite DevRel people in the industry has puts out great videos, but they're too long. And I've told them over and over again, like these are too long, and people are not finishing them, and the numbers are going to reflect it.
Yeah, that's true. It happens to me. I've been shrinking my videos, and I still think that I can do even better, which is great because I can still deliver the same value with 3 minutes less. And sometimes I feel that I'm not delivering too much, but it's actually true. Like you can keep it simple, keep it simple, stupid. That's the principle I try to stand by, and you can still deliver a lot of value within a smaller time frame.
There's a lot of discipline that comes from being lean and short and making choices about what you're talking about and what you're leaving on the cutting room floor. This is an old story about if you want me to talk for an hour, I just need a minute. If you want me to talk for 5 minutes, I need a week. If you want me to talk for a minute, I need a month. Right? It's the idea that the leaner it gets, the tighter it gets, the more energy, effort, and consideration are going to need to go into it.
That's true. That's true. All right, so I think we're gonna start closing this session. If nobody has any questions, we can start closing up. But if you do, put it on the chat. Say hello. Big shout out to Has Mirza, who's putting their comments on LinkedIn. Also, Sophia from the Lead DevRel team. Hey, Sophia, good to see you there. But if there's no questions, we can start closing up. For close up, Jake, anything you want to share? You have open mic to the audience right now.
Well, I think as a general invitation for feedback, I always ask people to let me know what they think. Go to dataprotocol.com, take the courses. Everything is free on platform, and I want to know what you think. I did very large workshops with a couple of thousand developers for a while before we actually started building the platform, and it all the features, all the functions, the DX comes from that position of empathy, but we're never going to stop learning. And so it's email me, Jake at Data Protocol, or on Twitter, Jacob M. Ward. I want to hear from you guys. Like anything you see, anything you want to share with us, I want it on a ongoing basis.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jake. Go to dataprotocol.com, share your feedback. As you can see, Jake is super friendly, and scan the QR code we have here on the screen to win a DaVinci Resolve Studio license. But with that, I think we can call it off, Jake.
I appreciate it, Kevin. Also consider this an open invitation. We have never done outsourced content on platform, but your videos are such high quality in terms of production and content that anytime you want, we'll flip a channel on for you and introduce you to the platform.
That'll be great. That'll be great. I'm actually excited for the video I'm editing right now. It took me more time because I'm being edgy maybe, but I wrote a script and I said, to my lead Ron, who's my boss, I want to do a movie. I want to do a short movie, try to bring the filmmaking techniques into DevRel. So I'm actually doing acting, some sort of Morphe style, like having different characters. But the whole idea of this is just to have characters who people can relate to. Like I have the front end developer, I have the data engineer, I have the back end engineer, I have the product owner. So I'm doing all of these different roles into a short film that I shot a couple of weeks ago. I'm editing right now. But yeah, I'm trying to produce more content, trying to bring good quality because I do think that quality matters when it comes for video related to developers. And actually, there is a session in DevRelCon that I'm looking forward to it from Kevin Lewis, who's going to be talking about entertainment for developer, which is another area that I've been thinking about. But the whole thing is just like I feel that video for developers is getting so big, and there's a lot of opportunity out there. I mean, you can tell that. Like it's been what 20 months you said in Data Protocol,
Yeah,
and like you're going great.
yeah, yeah. And it's a lot of blue sky.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much who joined. Thank you, Jake. And I hope you have safe travels and good luck with all of the content you're generating.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
All right, everyone, take care. And I see you on the next one. Bye bye.